Let's talk about the misconception of the law of clemency. A great deal of misconception exists about the law of clemency. So many people believe that the prerogative powers of the head of the executive arm of government are in absolute form. It may appear to be so, but that's not absolutely true. Although specific eligibility criteria and procedure vary by jurisdictions, the basic law and purpose of clemency is universal in nature and is rooted in correction of injustices and mercy of reason, and sometimes due to caprice, but it must be predicated on the circumstances that best serve national interests, such as national security. This clemency is granted usually after an applicant has exhausted all judicial remedies. Legally speaking, the prerogative power, that is the discretion for clemency, is not absolute. To know the basic tenets of any form of law, the proper thing to do is to look for the etymological and historical essence of such a form of law in a priori state, together with the intent of the drafters of the statutes that incorporate that form of law. Let's look at the origin and viability of clemency. The concept of clemency originated in ancient Greece and ancient Rome, where the power to show leniency was held by the people or the sovereign. It was later incorporated into the English legal system and spread to the common law jurisdictions, evolving into the executive pardon power that is being seen today. In ancient Greece, for example, the power of clemency rested with the populace, that is, the people. The power was not on an individual, it was with the people. The power was not vested in a single ruler. A petition for clemency required support from at least 6,000 citizens in a secret poll, that is secret ballot voting of 6,000 citizens as the benchmark of votes scored for one to be given clemency or pardon. The Roman legal system also had its own traditions of clemency that influenced the English system. This is the origin of clemency. So it tells you that the origin, the etymological and historical essence, did not leave it absolute in the hands of the president of a country. There are certain conditions and certain ideals that clemency or the law of clemency is attached to. What's the concept of clemency? Clemency is the practice of reducing judicial punishment and it encompasses various acts like a reprieve, like a commutation, pardon motivated by factors such as justice and mercy of reason tied to circumstantial reasons. Mercy tied to circumstantial reason, I'll put it that way. That is to say, the reason for granting clemency, which of course varied, can be predicated on a sense of justice, mercy or compassion for the individual circumstance, and sometimes even on factors outside the legal process, such as political consideration that suit the best interest of the state or country, such as national security reason, may apply. A modern example is the President's 4th of 1974 pardon of the former President Nixon in the United States, which Nixon was granted the pardon was granted to move the nation past the Watergate scandal, though Nixon had not petitioned for it. It touched on national interests of the United States. So clemency includes several forms of relief, such as reprieves, delaying sentence of a sentence, commutation, reducing a sentence, remission, cancelling a debt, and a pardoned, officially forgiving an offense. Amnesty is also a form of clemency that absolve a group of people from a crime of criminal liability. So we are now talking about a misapplication of prerogative of mercy in Nigeria as against the inherent essence of value of clemency. So a few days ago, I became cognizant of the recent pardon granted to several notorious and vicious individuals, murderers, drug dealers, and serial kidnappers by the President of Nigeria, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in Nigeria. I am in total agreement that it is the prerogative power of the president or governors, as the case may be, to grant a convicted person relief from a sentence through a pardon, through commutation, through a reprieve. However, I am absolutely disgusted that the president of Nigeria grants pardon to murderers and notorious kidnappers who cut short the life of other persons, while several political prisoners, as well as poor people of lesser crimes, who indulge in lesser crime as a result of abject poverty and penchant for liberation from suffering, and those convicted as a result of inability to hire excellent counsel, excellent attorneys or lawyers to defend them, despite being innocent, remain in prison, and some are awaiting execution. It is absolutely shameful and embarrassing, crime encouraging, irritating, and traitorous to the spirit and letters of the law and the basic purpose of clemency, which anchor on the safeguard against injustices, mercy of reason, and national interests such as national security. In my view, the prerogative mercy under section 175 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has been abused, and the Nigerian Council of State has failed in its function to advise the President judiciously. My advice to citizens and residents of Nigeria is to try as much as possible to stay safe from toxic and narcissistic relationships and be cautious against getting killed, because justice may never to your spirit. My advice to the government of Nigeria is nothing so much an incentive and encouragement for crimes when notorious criminals, kidnappers, armed robbers, and murderers are befriended and treated with cherishment. Caution needs to always be applied whenever such a constitutional prerogative is to be exercised. Thank you listening to me on this issue. With all my heart, love, God bless you. I am Cyprian Edward-Ekpo.